Hey everybody, it's Chamber Matt from the South Kitsap Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to our 2023 general election candidate interviews. There are 9 races happening in the South Kitsap area, 5 for the city of Port Orchard, and 3 for the South Kitsap School Board, and 1 for South Kitsap Fire and Rescue. The South Kitsap School District will also have a capital bond on the ballot in November. As part of the series, we reached out to all 18 candidates several times to schedule an interview. All but 3 of the candidates responded. We asked all the candidates in each race the same questions, and none of the candidates had the questions in advance. I let the candidates answer the questions as best they could. I then spliced together the interviews so that you could have a side-by-side comparison. Big disclaimer here, I am not a professional editor. We did these interviews on Zoom, so please be patient with my editing. The Chamber will also be hosting an information forum for the school bond on October 11th at 5:30 p.m. upstairs at Whiskey Gulch, and a candidate meet and greet on October 26th, also at 5:30 at Whiskey Gulch. Come on out, meet the candidates, and hear about the school bond. Ballots should come out sometime around October 20th, and they are due back to the ballot box by November 7th. Thanks for watching. Remember to vote and make an informed decision. Hey everybody, it's Chamber Matt, and I am joined here today by John Clausen, who is running for Port Orchard City Council, rerunning for Port Orchard City Council. And I imagine there's a position number with this, right?
Yeah.
Which position are you
number
running?
4.
You're running for position number 4. Not that it matters a whole lot, because everybody in the city of Port Orchard votes for everybody. So it's not like there's a little corner of Port Orchard that's carved out for John's world. Everybody in the city votes for the city council and the mayor, regardless of where you live. So, John, thank you for joining me today.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Matt. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. And so, the way it's going to work is I've got half a dozen questions, and I'll bounce back and forth between you and Eric. And I will try to splice them as seamlessly as possible. I will try not to splice me in the middle of saying or something like that. So anyways, are you ready to roll?
I'm ready.
You're ready to roll. All right, John. So first question here, and I tell everybody it's the toughest, but tell us about yourself and why you decided to rerun, as in your case, for Port Orchard City Council, and how do you think you can help the community?
Well, I was born and raised in Port Orchard, so I have a real warm spot, obviously, in my heart for the city. I did move out just south a little bit for about 4 years and hated every minute of it, and came back to Port Orchard, and just have been just part of my life, and I want to continue that effort. As far as the city council, I actually wanted to get involved with my community many years ago. And there was a vacancy on the council, and the committee that was searching for a replacement reached out to me and asked me to apply, for which I did, and they appointed me, and I have been on the council ever since. The reason that I'm running this time is that I think out of my history with the city, we've done a lot of wonderful projects. City Hall is probably the most recent large example. But there's an awful lot ahead of us that I think is going to be really exciting for the city, and I'm anxious to help. I think the council and the mayor right now is a great team, and we're working extremely well together. And I'd just like to continue that effort for another term.
All right, thank you, John. So, hey everybody, it's Chamber Matt, and today I am joined by Eric Warden. Eric is running for the Port Orchard City Council, position number 4. Doesn't mean anything. Everybody in the city votes for every position. It's just a way to separate the seats. So, Eric, welcome, and thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
So, the process is pretty simple, Eric. I'm going to ask a question, and you're going to answer it, and then I will splice. In the end, I'll end up splicing you and John together, and coming up with one video that kind of compares and contrasts both the candidates. So, if you're ready to go, we'll just jump into the first question.
I'm ready to go.
All right, outstanding. So first question, tough one. Tell us about yourself and why you decided to run for the Port Orchard City Council, and how do you think you can help the community?
Oh, that sounds like an easy question. It's always the hardest having to talk about yourself, you know. Well, obviously, you already introduced me. My name's Eric. I've lived in Port Orchard for 45 years. My parents moved us here when there's four of us kids when we were young. Went to South Kitsap High School, graduated in 94. My wife graduated in 94 from South Kitsap High School. My wife works for a developer, property manager. My son graduated from South Kitsap High School. He as well works for a different developer, property manager, went to Gonzaga University. My daughter, she currently is in college. So when she graduates, she's probably moving back here as well. So we're heavily invested in the community. I work for Kitsap County Public Works. I've worked there for almost 30 years now. I've worked in the public works field. I'm a construction inspector, a water quality inspector. I've done this for probably the last 15 years. Before that, I was in utilities as well for the county. I deal with everything from the water quality side, dealing with pollution control, illicit discharge detection, elimination, going to commercial properties, inspecting their sites, making relationships with them, educating them. I deal a lot with a large portion of my job is dealing with citizens' concerns. If there's something with the county, they call and they send me out to try to mitigate the situation. So I deal a lot with the public every day. I deal with their concerns. No one's ever called to have me come out and say thank you. They have me come out because they want to voice a concern. So that's what I deal with every day on a professional level, as well as I sit on committees. I'm on the Civil Service Committee for the city of Port Orchard. So that's kind of nice, sitting with the chief of police and overseeing their hiring practices, seeing the numbers, seeing the real stuff that's out there, getting the real conversations. That's really nice. I was appointed by the mayor. That's how you get on those commissions. So again, it's kind of a nice thing for someone to think of you like that, to ask you to sit on something of that level. I volunteer a lot in the community. I do a lot with the high school, a lot with the school district, raise a lot of funds. I coach high school baseball for the varsity level. Every little league board you can imagine, running baseball programs, you name it, I'm out there. So if you combine the way I look at it, why I decided to run, if you look at my professional experience of almost 3 decades and my community involvement, that's basically what city council needs. Usually people offer, one or the other, or a little bit of both. I think I come with quite a bit of both. And city council will be a really good way for me to really be directly involved in the community. So I'm saying I want a seat at the table.
You, John. So this next question is kind of a two-parter, and it's not a trick question, but it could be a long answer. So let's try to keep it down, to a reasonable amount of time. But the first part of this two-part question is, tell me about the Growth Management Act. And obviously you can see the next part of the question is, what role does it play in the development of Port Orchard and, the planning and things like that. But the first question, tell us about the Growth Management Act.
Well, this is an act that the state implemented a number of years ago, and I think the basic intent of the act was to encourage growth in an urban area such that it would allow local governments and local services to concentrate their efforts and hopefully do a much better job as opposed to just allowing growth to sprawl and making it extremely difficult for, pick a service, law enforcement as a good example. We can staff up a police department and serve a smaller geographical area versus a large geographical area, which expands and extends the response time just because you're trying to cover a much larger area. Utilities is another great example where we can't just run water mains and sewer mains all over the place. So the intent was to concentrate growth in an urban area where the local services could be provided more efficiently and hopefully less expensively.
So I think, John, that's a great answer. It's one of the best. It's a different explanation than I've ever heard. The explanation you always hear is concentration of growth, but you've explained why that concentration of growth is so important to us. So what role does the Growth Management Act play in the development within the city of Port Orchard? And what can the city do to bring the infrastructure up to speed?
Well, I think what the growth management is doing that's impacting the city, obviously, is it's concentrating growth in the city. So the city is experiencing, especially most recently, a very, very rapid increase in population. I think the Puget Sound Regional Council has predicted that there's going to be over 1.5 million new people moving into the region by 2050. And the whole region, now this is Pierce County, King County, Snohomish, and Kitsap, we all have to figure out how best to respond to that growth. And in Kitsap County, we've worked with the other jurisdictions, the cities in the county, to determine how much of this growth can we all handle. So we have been allocated a certain amount of growth, and then it's up to us in the local jurisdictions to be able to plan appropriately for that type of growth and accommodate that level of growth. And again, right now, Port Orchard is experiencing a very rapid rate of growth. I was talking to our community development director not long ago, and I think there's somewhere in the neighborhood of about 4,000 living units that are in the pipeline somewhere for Port Orchard alone. And fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to look at it, about 60% of that projected growth is expected to be single family homes. The other 40% is to be multifamily homes. So, again, we have to make sure that we're ready. The roads are ready, the sewer, water, all of those utilities are ready to handle that type of growth. And we've been planning appropriately to be able to handle what we're anticipating happening.
So next question is it's kind of a generic question, and it deals with the Growth Management Act. And then there's a follow-up question to that. But first of all is, tell me about the Growth Management Act. And then the follow-up on that is, what role does it play in planning and the development within the city of Port Orchard? And what can we do to bring the infrastructure up to speed? So it's kind of like 3 questions. So I guess if you want to tackle just what is the Growth Management Act to begin with, and then we can look at the other ones.
Absolutely. So the Growth Management Act, that was instated, that became a law 33 years ago. The state put that in place to basically, they want to protect all of our natural forests, all of our land. They want to have basically communities, places of business, transportation. They want to try to centralize that in one area. So basically, high density housing, all of that, they want to try to basically put that in the cities. Leave our rural areas to more what they should be, our parks, our natural land. With saying that, does definitely come some challenges, but that's what the Growth Management Act is. It was put in place to basically also hold like counties and cities accountable, hold them accountable for the design is to get your community involved, the community input. From there, what their vision is. And they also put in place, comprehensive, acts too, where every 20 years you have to, you have a 20-year plan. Every 10 years, you have to update that. Again, that involves your community and what your community's vision is. So departments and department heads are supposed to go out. They're supposed to gather the community's feedback of like what their vision is. Everything from, the layout to cities are supposed to have like the arts. They're supposed to have all that good stuff in those areas. Then those department heads take that, they bring it back to the elected officials, and it builds a roadmap for what the elected officials are supposed to go by.
Okay. So given that information, and that's a good explanation. So what role then, I mean, you talked about the department heads going out and getting all that information. When all is said and done, how does that affect the planning and the development within the city of Port Orchard?
So by laying out what your plan is for your future, so your comprehensive part of it, by laying out how you want your community to grow, that's how you would construct your infrastructure. That's how you would upgrade your utilities. That's how you would basically figure out where do you want your businesses? Where do you want your affordable housing? All those kind of things. So basically it's a blueprint for how the elected officials should try to design your city. And it also helps you predict the future by not predict the future, plan for the future by having you laying out your infrastructure. If you know that this area is going to be real high density housing, say apartment complexes, neighborhoods, where you're just packing them in pretty strong there. You're going to start doing some traffic mitigation early on. So it really helps you for your planning.
Right. So which is the third part of the two-part question.
All right.
Yeah. So when I said there's only 6 questions, I didn't tell you about all the
all the A, B's, and C's that come along with it.
Yeah.
All right.
So given that, what can the city do to bring our infrastructure up to speed? If we're behind the times a little bit, what's the next step, and how does that fit in with the planning, development, the Growth Management Act, bringing our infrastructure up to speed?
Yeah. Well, saying we're behind times a little bit, that's definitely true. That's definitely true. We have, as an example, where I live in Port Orchard, we had a pretty big scare, for water shortages, things like that. Part that kind of bothers me a little bit is the fact that when the city incorporated McCormick Woods, they knew how many plats were out here. If they didn't know that, they should have known that, but they knew that. As a resident out here, I've known that. So by not planning, by throwing out permits, for developers to start building and then saying pump the brakes, we're behind a little bit, that's not really acceptable. So we have to start planning better. We have to start upgrading our utilities. We need to start upgrading our sewer systems. All the homes that are being built out, the county, as far as like Manchester, that's built out. The growth is coming, and it's coming towards the city side. And our sewer systems, I couldn't imagine what we need to do. I do imagine, actually. That's what I did for a long time. But what needs to be done to upgrade those systems, to make them, work for another 1,000 homes that are probably be put up there in McCormick. So we need it for infrastructure. We need to start getting some turn lanes in here. These neighborhoods you're pulling off. Let's use the one by Lund behind Puerto Vallarta. You're pulling in and pulling out. There's no turn lanes. There's no traffic mitigation at all for something like that. We need to have the developers use up some of that land to start putting in some turn lanes. And I didn't say our tax dollars for that. We need to start holding developers accountable for that. That needs to start being some of our requirements. We just passed a sales tax to put in roundabouts. down Bethel. There's four large neighborhoods that were just built off Blueberry. They're putting an apartment complex in right now as well off of Blueberry. This is all going to be done. It's almost done. And then they're going to put in traffic mitigation on the backs of taxpayers with sales tax, when the developers should have been, they're the ones that are creating a lot of this impact. And development's going to happen. I do it for a living, and I started off by saying my family's in development. I get it. But I work for taxpayers, and I hope to work for taxpayers for the city of Port Orchard. And I want to hold them accountable for more traffic mitigation for the communities that they're getting rich off the backs of. So, and that also requires the infrastructure, you know, upgrading the sewer systems. I know the impact fees have just been hit pretty hard. Those have been, those were raised, and I made it public. I made some comments out there that went a little wild, but those impact fees needed to be done, and the city did the right job by raising the impact fees on those. We have to help out the community that's currently living here, and we have to do that before the development continues to come.
What would you say to the following statement? We don't need any more apartments or housing developments in Port Orchard.
Well, I guess the biggest issue is going to be where. All of the jurisdictions in our county, including Kitsap County, are determining how much can we all accommodate and how do we best deal with it. So if you don't plan for it, unfortunately, it's going to happen, and you're going to get caught flat-footed, I'm afraid. So the best thing for us to do is to be able to plan for it. Now, certainly the demand is what's driving it. It's not the city. We just need to be prepared to respond to that growing demand. And as I said, the projections for our region, the Puget Sound region, is over 1 million new residents coming to the region by 2050. So they're coming. We've all been hearing about the rapid growth in the tech industry over in the Seattle-King County area. Certainly with COVID, we've all learned now how people can work from home. And, you know, Port Orchard and Kitsap County is a beautiful place to live. So it's coming. We just need to make sure that we're prepared for it. We're planned appropriate for it. And we deal with it as it comes.
So as a follow-up to that, John, you say it's coming and we need to be prepared for it, but why does Port Orchard need to be prepared for it? Let's let Issaquah take it all.
Well, because all of these communities are equally in the same situation. Some of them can accept a higher number than others. Port Orchard, relatively speaking, is a small community. The numbers we're planning for relative to, say, Seattle as an extreme example, is much, much smaller. But we're all taking our, shall we say, fair share to be able to deal with it evenly across the Puget Sound region. And people are going to go where they want to go. Now, ultimately, I'd love to have Port Orchard back when I was a kid, but we know that that's just not feasible anymore. We can't build a fence around the city and say, sorry, no more. So we have to be ready for it, and we have to be prepared. And growth management has pretty well limited the amount of growth that can occur outside of the city. So again, we've got to be prepared for it. We need to plan for it. We need to have the utilities and services available.
So next question, we talked a little bit about the development and affordable housing, and this next it's how would you respond to this statement? We don't need any more apartments or housing developments in Port Orchard.
Any more apartments and what else? I'm sorry, Matt.
And housing developments. We don't need any more housing developments. We don't need any more apartments in Port Orchard.
Okay, so I love Port Orchard. Like I said, moved here a long time ago. Just like many people out there, I can choose to leave or stay. When I sold my last house, my wife and myself had a real conversation. Do we want to move to Gig Harbor or we want to stay here? And we're looking at the community. This is before everything blew up, before the growth started really hitting hard. We chose to stay here. My kids go to college all over. They travel. My son's traveling right now with his wife, and they're coming back here to live here. Growth is going to happen, and it's going to grow in the city limits. That's where it's going to grow. That's where it's designed to grow. We started off with the GMA. You asking me about the GMA. That's what it's designed to do. To say we don't need any more, that's not our option. We don't have the option. We have the option to say where they're going to go. We have the option to say, how are we going to mitigate the traffic for it? We're gonna offer, you know, they're building communities there downtown. We definitely need better parks. We need things to offer our community. It's going to grow. We need more amenities. I apologize. That's what we need for our community. They're coming. Apartment complexes are coming. More communities are coming. That's how our plan is laid out. And we're following it. But what we're not following is the plan to have all the infrastructure in place ahead of time. We're absolutely not doing that. I can go off for a long tangent on where we're using our money, but we definitely need to get the infrastructure in place. As far as how that statement came out, we don't need more of it. Tell that to the people that are buying them. Tell that to, I mean, Matt, I have taken these door hangers and I have hit almost 4,000 houses. 4,000. My feet are tired. And let me tell you, part of it was McCormick Woods that's growing out there. And I've hung these door hangers and I've talked to people. The comment that you asked me about, that is not the comment that's being said amongst all the new homeowners that are moving in here. They're buying them as fast as they can build them. So to say that we don't need them, we need housing. To say we don't need apartment complexes, not everybody can afford a house. My wife oversees 15 apartment complexes. 15. They're full. They're raising rents. She comes home. I hope her company doesn't see this, but she comes home and she's shocked at how much apartments are. With saying that, they're getting rented. They're getting rented, and the housing developments are getting full. So to say that we don't need it, it's not true.
Yeah. Well, you know, and that's the thing is that's what you hear on social media. You know, I mean, you know, as soon as they break ground on something new, it's all about we don't need this and we don't need that. And I just wanted, and you're absolutely right.
Well, Matt, I mean, what we also hear on social media is we need a new high school. We have to stop allowing these homes to be built without another high school. These are separate conversations. One has absolutely nothing to do with the other. That's like saying we have to stop building homes because, well, we passed almost everything fire, but we have to stop building homes because we don't have the fire service to support it. Hey, those are two separate
right.
things. Mm-hmm. You know, voting for a council member, voting for a school bond levy, voting for a fire, those are all separate conversations. You know, do they have something to do with each other? Absolutely they do. But at the same time, there's a certain key players in our community who made comments probably 2016 roughly about no one's going to move here if we don't build another high school. Look around. It's not stopping them.
Yeah.
It's not stopping them.
So shifting gears a little bit here, I'll ask, it's kind of a question slash statement for you, John. We have homelessness, increasing public safety issues, lack of affordable housing, infrastructure needs, increased development. We have inflation. What should the priorities of the city be, and how would you address them?
Well, the thing that I think is important is that the city is responsible for a number of things, and we can't lose sight of everything that we're responsible for. I'll give you one example for homelessness. We've had, as we were talking a minute ago about the rapid growth, we've had a very large influx of multifamily apartment complexes all over. We're one of the few communities that the average price of rental has gone down over the last few years. And it's a supply and demand issue. So that's one aspect of affordable housing. Some of the other things that we've been doing with, property tax abatement for projects that are providing a certain amount of affordable living units, working with Kitsap County on the development of their homeless facility that they're developing up on top of Mile Hill. Just a variety of things that we're doing to help with the homeless issue. I think we also have to recognize that part of the homeless issue is not just economics. There's mental health issues, there's drug addiction issues. We need to be working with the different services that are out there to make sure that they're available for the folks when they need them. Certainly the challenge is getting them to take advantage of those services. And that's something that we're working with some of the other outreach communities, Kitsap Mental Health, and those types of facilities to help work with primarily the homeless communities and some of those activities. Inflation, I wish I had a good answer for inflation. That's a tough one. That's more of a national issue that we all have to make sure that it's kind of a difficult balance between living wages and the price of goods. I know that there's some interest of commercial development that's going to be occurring in the city of Port Orchard that might help a little bit. Competition is always helpful when it comes to price increases and things of that nature. So I think there's a lot of aspects, but bottom line in my particular perspective is that there's a lot of issues that are in front of us right now that we need to be dealing with, but we also can't lose sight of what the basic principle of the city government is. And, that's life safety and things of that nature, transportation, providing utilities, a responsive government to the community. One of the things that we can help with is with development. You've got through the permitting process and making sure that we can get permits through City Hall as quickly as we can, which ultimately will help save, the builders and the home prices when it finally comes to that area.
So next question is, it's not a multi-part question, but it's a question that you can make out of it what you want. Because the city of Port Orchard, we have homelessness. There are increasing public safety issues. There's a lack of affordable housing. We do have the infrastructure needs that we've talked about. There's increased development. Nationwide, there's inflation. Not much we can do about that. But, what should the priorities of the city be? And I'm not talking about addressing everything because there are a lot more than I've mentioned. But where should the priorities of the city be? And how should the city and how would you address those issues as a city council?
Well, the infrastructure, a lot of that we can actually address with our utility fees. Our stormwater, as an example, the growth management, our stormwater is so far behind for a city to not have more low impact development. When I drive the city and I look at the storm systems, the commercial properties, they're filthy, they're full. We have no inspection. We go off of an honor system for them. All they have to do is check off a box. That's unacceptable for a city to have the amount of pavement that we have in a dense area. That's not okay. That can be addressed with our utility fees. Stormwater is a utility. It's billed as a utility. It's recognized as a utility. It's a utility. Our wastewater, Again, that part of the infrastructure that could be addressed through the wastewater fees. You know, they need to use them the proper way. They need to prioritize. The connection fees have been raised a lot. I have friends that are they're in the fields and they don't agree with me, and that's okay. They don't agree with me. I see it every single day. And impact fees, connection fees have to be raised. That's the only way we can help the people who currently live here without absorbing the costs as much as we do. Homelessness, I deal with that on a regular basis. By working for the county, I'm required to drive through our parks, our easements, all these areas that there's new camps being formed, new people that are living there. And what I do not approach them. I'm not doing that. I'm not trained for that. But I do definitely take some photos, make a count, and I call the people that the county has. It's the HEART program, and we call them, and they come out and they try to get them off county property. They try to get them off public property. The problem is we don't have the resources for it. There's been studies done. People are not homeless because very few people are homeless because of affordable housing. They're homeless because they have drug and alcohol issues. They have, trying to word it the proper way. They're not that stable. They need some assistance. Okay. We don't have the resources. So there's nowhere for us to put them. There's nowhere for us, nothing for us to offer them. That's what makes it extremely hard to just push them off, out and to make it someone else's problem. What we need to do is prioritize. And with our homeless situation, we have to start coming together with the county, with the other cities. And on the peninsula here, we need to bring our money together, and we need to try to find some kind of a solution, some sort of rehab, some resources for them, because on the peninsula, we don't have anything to offer them. So that's basically, I think the mayors, the council members, the county commissioners need to come together, and they need to try to figure out, where can we put a resource center to offer them? Because once you offer the resources, if they decline them, then you can remove them off your property. And when I say our property, I mean the taxpayers' property. So we need to come together, and it shouldn't be just City of Port Orchard's problem. Just because the City of Port Orchard has the courthouse here, we have the jail here, we should not continue to absorb everything. I think our mayor does a nice job in recognizing that part, but I think the homelessness is a real hit on our community. The drugs, definitely a huge hit on our community. That's what brings crime. Just yesterday, here in our neighborhood, I live in McCormick Woods, and there are some people who didn't really care that we had some people standing at the entrance asking for money. They're coming to our neighborhood too. They're not just living in downtown Port Orchard. They're not just living there in certain communities. They're living amongst all of us. They are our neighbors. I have a brother-in-law who is one of them. My brother-in-law is one of them, and he's a very, very good person. He needs resources, and he doesn't, and they're not provided. And our cities and our county need to come together as a team, and they need to figure this out, because just one city or just the county, I don't think they have the funding to do it. But if we pull it together, I think we can do something great. As far as prioritizing them, I know it's a real question you asked. In affordable housing, I'm going to attack that one real quick. We need more affordable housing, but we don't need the tax breaks for developers building affordable housing. We don't need that. That is crushing us. Every apartment complex that is in the city of Port Orchard, people just think it's one building. An apartment complex of 150 to 300 units is 150 to 300 homes. It's the traffic of 300 homes. It's the impact of 300 homes. It's the schools of 300 homes of students. And our fire department is not, our schools and our fire department, they're not getting the tax money for the tax breaks that the developers are getting for building affordable homes, housing. And so we need more of it, but we have to figure something out because our taxpayers are wearing the brunt of it, and it's not right. You know, our schools need help and the fire needs help, and we need affordable housing. So we need to come together and try to get some happy medium in there, but we cannot continue to put on the backs of taxpayers. If I was to prioritize it, we have to have better infrastructure. That's the very first thing that we have to do. We have to be able to even get around town. We have to be able to have our fire engines and ambulances. As of yesterday, I was on Lund, and the fire engines couldn't even get through. There has to be something in our infrastructure. We have to start with that. We cannot allow our sewer systems to fail. That absolutely cannot happen. They cannot become overwhelmed. And that is an expense that nobody can absorb. And our storm system, we have to do a better job of maintaining that. And we have to start eliminating a lot of the pollutions that our city's putting out, and we're not out there inspecting it. So I'm going to say, if I have to prioritize it, I'm going to say we're going to have to go for the infrastructure first, affordable housing, and homelessness.
What role does the city play in economic development, and how can the city help local small businesses become more successful?
Well, I think there's a variety of things. Certainly the transportation system is a key point, and I would include in that transportation system, having parking and law enforcement services, things of that nature. There's a lot that goes into the transportation system. I think, again, permitting, processing applications and licenses as quickly as we can helps ultimately in that regard. Working with the prospective not homeowners, but business owners to help them provide good information. There are some firms that want the demographic information. They want economic information. Working with the Kitsap Economic Development Alliance to get the information, as well as you, the chamber, to be able to get them the information that they need that might help them make the decisions to locate in Port Orchard. So there's a variety of aspects. Now the city, we have a role, but it's ultimately the private sector that needs to do it. So what we can do to help, I certainly want to try to do that. And I'm pretty proud of being the recipient of the Kitsap Economic Development Champion for 2023. I was honored with that recognition not long ago. And I think it's very, very important to talk about Port Orchard, talk about everything that we have in Port Orchard, share that around the area, and just, I guess, encourage business owners to come to Port Orchard and locate and set up their business, and then whatever we can do to help.
So this next question, it deals from a Chamber of Commerce standpoint and from the business standpoint, deals with economic development. And what role do you see the city playing in economic development, and how can the city help local small businesses become more successful?
That's a great question. It's actually a question that I've talked to other council members about. I've for sure have talked to local businesses about. It's pretty much unanimous. One of the best ways to help a small business is to stay out of the way, let them do their thing. We don't have B&O tax here. The city of Portia does a really nice job on that, trying to help them out. What I would like to see happen to help them out, and for development and bringing in more small businesses and the ones that do come in, I would really like to see, when they start trying to get permits and whatnot, I'd like to see them go to the top of the line. That's extremely expensive for a small business to try to start up a small business and sit there, and just eat money waiting for permits to go through. That's brutal. That's brutal. Again, that's what I do for a living, is I have to sign off on occupancy permits and whatnot and make sure that they're in compliance. And I definitely think that we need to speed up the process for them. Parking is, let's use small businesses downtown Port Orchard. We're not going to, if we put a transit center on the waterfront downtown Port Orchard, that's going to eat up more parking. I don't think people are taking the buses to small businesses in downtown Port Orchard. I just don't see it happening. That's not happening. Do we need transportation? Absolutely. We need Kitsap Transit 100%. But we can't basically eliminate parking spaces because we think that people are going to possibly start taking the buses downtown Port Orchard to shop. My mom's not doing it. My sister's not doing it. I'm not doing it. No one I know is really doing it. We need to help with parking downtown Port Orchard. I had a couple items that I wanted to mention in that. One thing I do know that I hear a lot of is we need some elected officials that are more engaged with the businesses in Port Orchard. I'm going to say 100% of every elected official is a good person. They're probably a great person. They're probably really good at their careers. When you're an elected official, you need to be out there in the public. You need to be walking around. You need to be engaged. You need to talk to homeowners. You're not going door to door, but you need to be present and you need to be available. When a small business emails you or calls you, you need to reply. And for them to say that they do, I know of one who for sure does, and he's no longer beyond council. His term's up. The others, though, they're not returning phone calls. They're not, you need to be engaged in your community. You need to walk into some doors here and there. You need to ask them, what can we do to help you? Is everything good? What's not good? Take some compliments. Maybe some things are great. Maybe some things are going really well. But these are the questions that should be you're asking me, which is a great question. And you're asking it on the behalf of the business owners. But these are questions that should be that literally should be asked while you're on council. And you should be saying, hey, these are a stack of emails that we have from local businesses. And we need some answers, or here are some concerns. Or again, here are some positives and some highlights. Everyone wants to hear some highlights, but I just think that we need more approachable people as well on council or whoever our mayor might be, to be more engaged. But the biggest thing is to stay out of the way, and definitely a huge concern that I hear is the lack of parking. So yep.
All right, outstanding. So
that's actually a tough question for someone like me, Matt. If you're not in that line of work,
right.
All you can do is be social, like I think I am, and try and get out there and talk to people and hear feedback. Because a lot of the questions that are asked, unless you're in that line, it's hard to know the concerns.
Well, and it is hard. And when you do look at the current makeup of the city council, there's not a lot of business people that are involved on the city council.
Right.
And so it's not just only a tough question for you, but it's a tough question for all of them.
Oh, no, 100%. Absolutely.
And it's a question that as a Chamber of Commerce, we need to pound home a little bit more. And emphasize that a little bit more. So
yeah, it's a fair question. If we're gonna sit here and say that we want to bring businesses downtown Port Orchard, and not downtown Port Orchard, but Port Orchard in general. If we want to try and promote we're business friendly, please come here. We better be able to back it up, and support them throughout their time of opening shop. So
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. All right, John. So here's the last question. You made it through the gauntlet. So tell me, John, why are you the best choice for Port Orchard City Council?
Well, I think the one thing that I will certainly point to is my track record. I've been on the council for a number of years. I'm very, very pleased with what we've been able to accomplish over the years. We've had some up years and down years. I want to continue that. I think I have demonstrated both my style, if you will, my management skills, my collaboration with it. You as a council member, you're just one of seven. You need to work with your fellow council members, certainly the mayor and the staff, to move things forward. I've often pointed to the fact that I think a good city government is a three-legged stool. It takes a combination of the council, the mayor, and the staff, and all three of them need to be going in the same direction. So I would just point to my record. I certainly have a lot of experience in managing large organizations. In my day job, I'm the executive director of Kitsap Transit, which is an organization of about roughly 450 employees. And we've got, our annual budget this year is over $200 million. So I've got the experience, and I'm really happy to report that we're going to be releasing very soon the recent audit by the state auditor that we have successfully completed another audit at the city with absolutely zero findings or comments. And this is one of many. And I've been fortunate to chair the finance committee for a number of years. So I really take a lot of pride in, and certainly I'm not going to take credit for it. It's really the staff, but it's working with the staff, making sure we have policies in place that help us become a successful city. So again, I'll just point to my track record. Folks can look and see what I think, what I believe in, and what I'm trying to do as we move forward. Absolutely right. So Eric,
yes, sir.
time flies when you're having fun, because we are on the last question.
All right.
So yeah, my 6 questions turned into about 10, but the last question is quite simply, why are you the best choice for Port Orchard City Council?
All right. Again, here we go. So I kind of started off my long introduction with I really think someone who knows, usually when someone walks into city council, there's a huge learning curve. You don't know what public works really is. And city council, really, it's about public works. It's about infrastructure. It's about roads. It's about dealing with the public. Usually you have to, roadmap your way around it. I have 30 years of experience. I have 30 years or more of real involvement in the community. One, which is, as running for council right here, it's been pretty humbling. People have been unbelievably nice to me. So I come with a lot. I think I'm pretty approachable, real approachable. I can hold a conversation about anything. For a living, I deal with caring for people's concerns. And I represent my local government while I do it. And I do a fantastic job of balancing that out, of working for the government, but at the same time, trying to mitigate, someone's concern. And I take a lot of pride in that. I mean, that's real customer service when you're out there doing it. So I bring knowledge, but I also bring a lot of community involvement. You know, that's one thing that I'm pretty proud of, is that I've worked really hard over the years to get better at that. I've taken leadership classes that are months long. I've taken all sorts of things to better myself. You know, when by bettering myself because of what I do, by being involved in the community in my career, it benefits a lot of others. So turn that off. So definitely that. The gentleman that I'm running against, great person, great person. He has phenomenal family. 40 years is a long time on council. 40 years is a long time. We need someone who is approachable, engaging, who's out there, out and about. We need some fresh ideas. We need people who are on council that are listening to the public and going in directions that our comprehensive plan says, and that is bringing people involved in making those decisions. And also, I think being the director of Kitsap Transit is a huge conflict of interest. And I already mentioned the transit station downtown Port Orchard. That's all I'm gonna say. Those two items. Yeah.
All right.
All right, Matt.
Nope. All right. So we're good. So we're gonna wrap things up here. Thank you, Eric, for joining us today, for indulging my questions. I'm gonna go ahead and work on getting the two videos, the two interviews spliced together. I want to remind everybody, or tell everybody, or warn everybody that ballots are going to be coming out sometime in the vicinity of October 20th. They are due back into the ballot box or the mailbox no later than November 7th, so that they can get counted. So I encourage everybody to vote. If you're not registered to vote currently, get registered to vote, and be informed and vote. We've got a couple events coming up. We have a school bond, because that's on the ballot this year. We have a school bond meeting coming up on October 11th at upstairs at Whiskey Gulch, and another candidate meet and greet coming up on October 26th upstairs at Whiskey Gulch. So if you want to come out and you want to talk to Eric personally, you can do that. So once again, Eric, thank you for joining us.
I appreciate your time. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. I appreciate yours too. And good luck, and look forward to working with you in the future.
Take care. Thanks.